Hello and welcome back to another video on Unpacked Technologies. In this video, I'm going to be showing you iOS 16 and all of its new features, as well as bugs and stability and how the overall usage has been for me on my main device. Now, this video is going to show you my favorite new features on iOS 16 and also the most notable ones, as well as how my personal experience has been and whether you should install this beta. So let's get straight into it. Alright, so I've been running the iOS 16 public beta on my main iPhone 11 for the past week or so now, and I've got a lot of thoughts about the operating system. So there's lots of new features that I'm going to get to in a moment, but there has also been some stability issues that I have had. But first off, we'll start with all the new features, starting off with the all-new lock screen. So this is the brand new lock screen on iOS 16. I'll just unlock it with my face here. And that's the first new feature you'll be able to see. Now it's minor, but if you look at the Face ID thing, I'm going to have to put this on an angle so it can read my face here. But you'll see that it has a new animation. So I'll do that again. Just look up the top here. You'll see that it unlocks. It's a smaller lock icon. It unlocks and then it fades away. So I'll do it one more time. And there we go. You can see that it unlocks and then fades away. All right, and this is the all new lock screen here. So you'll see that the first thing is that you can now have widgets on your lock screen. So what I'm going to show you is how to customize the lock screen here, because this is probably my favorite feature and probably the thing everyone will notice on this update. So you'll start off by seeing that if you hold down on the lock screen, you've got your lock screen picker. So this is sort of like the Apple Watch face picker. You can sort of decide and pick between all these different lock screen options on your iOS device. So if we scroll through them here, all the way to the right, you can see that you can add a new one. So if we click in there, you'll see that there's this new wallpaper picker. So this is now an all new system here. And you'll see that there's featured ones at the top, such as the default iOS 16, astronomy, and color. There's also then some suggested photos that finds photos in your photo library that it recommends using for your lock screen. And then you can scroll down and you'll see there's some weather and astronomy ones, which are my personal favorites on this device. And then there's also some other collections here. So what I'm going to show you is maybe let's say we want to choose an astronomy wallpaper here. So if I go maybe one with the Earth here like I usually use, and then I click on it, we can then make some edits to these widgets. So you'll see the first thing we can change is the style of the clock here. So if we click into that, you'll see there's 8 different font and color options here on the device. So actually there's more than 8 color options here, but there's 8 font options. So by default, it's on this sort of bold looking one, but you can change it to the older look with the thin, and there's some more rounded ones, and then there's more fancy fonts as well. So you can customize that to your liking. So I'm going to leave that as bold for now. And then once you've chosen that, you can also change the color of all your widgets. And then once you click a color, you've even got more options here with sort of like the shade that you want. So I'm going to go really dark shade of that there. And if you can actually go to the end here and pick your own color for the color scheme here. So I'm going to maybe choose that one, and that looks quite good there. And you've also got spectrum and sliders. Now, once you've chosen that, you can then choose your widgets. Now, in terms of customizing the widgets, we'll start with the top one here, where it's usually just a date, and we can click on that, and you'll see that there's lots of widget options. So if we scroll down here, you'll see that we can choose from a number of different options here. So let's say that I want to, for example, have my fitness up there. I can click that, and then you'll see that it's changed it. So it says it still says the day and the date, but then it also has all my fitness data there. Now, so that's got lots of different options for the top one. And then these bottom ones you can also change. So you can either have 2 bigger ones like this size here, or you can have 3 smaller ones of this sort of Apple Watch complication size. So let's just say we start off with customizing these. And what we can do is, it has some by default, but we can change these. So let's just remove a couple here. Remove all of these. And then you'll see that we have a few options. So if we start off, maybe we want a news widget, and then maybe, try that again. And then maybe we want a couple of others, such as maybe, let's say, the clock here. Click that. Oh, accidentally added 2 of those. And then maybe air quality index, for example. And then that is the widgets we've added. And then we can see we've got widgets on the home screen. Now you can also slide between different astronomy options here. So if we go through here, we've got a lot of different options here. So maybe I want Earth detail, and then I'll just click done here. And then you'll see it says either set as wallpaper pair or customize home screen. So you can customize the home screen and change it to what you want, but I'm just going to set that as a wallpaper pair. And then if we go into it, you'll see that that now has Earth detail on there. Now, another option is on my normal one, you can also see that it actually animates. This is my normal lock screen here. If I unlock it here, you'll see that when you go between the lock screen and the home screen, the Earth actually animates to the bottom, as you'll see there, which is quite a neat little animation. So I really like that. Now, another other couple of features that are quite good on here, I haven't had to use them, but I thought they were quite cool, is if we go into settings and then we scroll down and go to privacy and security, and then if we scroll to the bottom here, you'll see there's now lockdown mode. So this is a really cool feature here. And it says here, lockdown mode is an extreme optional protection that should only be used if you believe you may have personally been targeted by a highly sophisticated cyber attack. So most people never actually will experience this sort of cyber attack happen to them. This is only to be used in very extreme circumstances. But what this will do is, if you click turn on lockdown mode here, you'll see that a lot of features of the device will be disabled to protect your security. So the features that are usually good entry points for these hackers will be disabled, such as attachments on messages, incoming FaceTime calls from people you haven't called in the past would be blocked. Some web browsing features would be shut off. Profiles wouldn't be able to be installed, and certain device connections would be blocked as well, just to prevent common ways that hackers can usually get into your device. So this is really handy, being able to turn this on if you feel the need to. So that's really a good feature to have on here. Another one is called Safety Check. Now, this was set up in WWDC. It was shown off. And this is really good if you're in a vulnerable situation where you may need to restrict access to other files or personal information between other people in your life if you're in a vulnerable situation. So you can manage sharing and access quickly, and also go to emergency reset your device if needs be. And there's also a good little quick exit button up here, which will allow you to quickly exit the settings app so that you can shut it off without anyone seeing you. So that's really handy for safety reasons. There is also another really cool feature called continuity camera that I'm really looking forward to trying out, but I haven't been able to test it yet because I don't have the macOS Ventura public beta on my Mac yet, as it's my main machine and I don't want anything going wrong with it. So I'll be testing that out later on with the final release, and let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a video about how continuity camera works. There's also lots of little changes here that make it feel like quite a nice big update, such as there's now a little search button at the bottom that will go on to search instead of your little app icons, which you can then click and it will come up with your little search, which looks slightly redesigned, matching with the Safari design. Also, there's changes to ways certain notifications and live activities show up on your lock screen. So for example, if we play a little bit of music here and then pause it, and then we go to the lock screen, you'll see that it now shows up at the bottom of the screen instead of being in the center, just so it stays out of your way. Also, notifications will now pop up from the bottom of the screen rather than from the top sort of middle area, just so that they let your wallpaper show front and center. Now, if I unlock this device here, there's also different options with the clock, for example. So if I start a timer here for 15 minutes, for example, and then I go into here, you'll see that the clock also has a slight redesign to the way it shows up. And that will carry across all different, I'm going to end that there. That will carry across all different platforms. You'll also see here that I've got a little notification that my face is too far away. So that's another new feature. It just tells you if your face isn't close enough to your device for it to unlock. So, and going back to those live activities, with supported apps will allow live updates on your lock screen of what's happening. So such as tracking a delivery or an Uber, that's what they show in WWDC, or live updates of the score at a footy game, for example. They can all be seen on the lock screen once developers support it in their apps. So they're all the big new features in iOS 16, which I think are really good, handy features. But now this leads me on to the stability and potential bugs in iOS 16. So we'll start off with stability. So I've been running this on my main iPhone 11, as I mentioned earlier, for a little while now. It's been pretty good. However, I have noticed that things have been a little bit slower, whether that be switching between apps quickly or going in between different multitasking and things like that. It's usually pretty good, but sometimes it is a little bit slow. So, and you'll see in situations like that, sometimes there's some touch response issues where I'm clicking something, but then nothing responds on the screen. So that's definitely something that they need to fix. But these are all common things that usually happen in early betas and are usually definitely fixed by the public release in September. Now, if we talk about a little bit about battery life here, if we go into my battery here, you can see my battery health is at 86%. This phone is a few years old now, so that's sort of expected. So it's not the highest battery health, but I can compare my battery to how it was running on iOS 15 here. So if I go to the last 10 days, you'll see Thursday was my last day running iOS 15, and then Friday was the day I installed the iOS 16 public beta. So if we have a look at Thursday's usage on iOS 15, I had an hour and 4 minutes of screen on time, 35 minutes of screen off time, and I used about 50% of my battery. Now, if we look at a day, the first few days, iOS 16 was processing, but if we look at a day such as yesterday, I had an hour and 18 minutes of screen on time, and something's going wrong with that screen off time. For some reason, some app is using a heap of screen off. I'm going to need to sort that out, but that could be a bug as well. But it's used almost 100% of my battery, so that's significantly worse. If we look at the day before, 2 hours and 13 minutes of screen on time, and I used 100% of the battery. And then some of these other days, I'm going close to 125% of my battery, which is pretty poor for this phone. I used to be getting it a lot better on iOS 15. So if battery life is important to you, I'd probably hold off installing this beta. In terms of storage, I haven't had too many issues with storage, although last night I did have a problem where it didn't load in properly. But if we scroll to the bottom, you'll see we're loading system data here. We'll see if it loads. Here we go. So we got iOS at 5.57 gigabytes and system data at 7.64 gigabytes. That's pretty good for a beta. I've seen a lot worse where system data can sometimes blow out to 20 or 30 gigabytes, even up to 50 gigabytes on some people's devices. So that's not bad for an early beta for it to be like that. So I personally haven't had any storage issues. So this leads me on to, should you install iOS 16 public beta or developer beta free? Well, if you've got a secondary device lying around, I'd say absolutely give it a go. But if it's your main device, I'd probably suggest holding off at least until beta 4 when we can get the battery and stability a little bit better. because if it's a device you rely on a lot, like things like banking apps sometimes don't work. My banking apps have actually been okay, but I know that some other people's may not work. So definitely keep that in mind if you're installing this. And also, if you are going to install it, make sure that you take a backup of your device. That's really important, because if you don't take a backup and something goes wrong and you need to restore to iOS 15, then you may lose your data, and I'm not responsible for any data loss during this process. But also, if you'd like to see a video about how to downgrade from iOS 16 to iOS 15, just let me know in the comments below, because I'm more than happy to make that if you'd like to see that. Other than that, that's about it with the iOS 16 new features, and you can expect a final release of iOS 16 sometime in September, probably mid to late September. So that's when we can expect the final release. So probably for most people, I'd suggest just wait until the final release in September, unless you have a secondary device. And if you want to know how to install the iOS 16 public beta, I've got another video about that. Just check that out. The link is in the cards and in the description below. Other than that, hopefully you've got a good insight about what the main new features in iOS 16 are, and hopefully you enjoy them just as much as I do. I think this is actually a really nice update, and I'm really enjoying the usage of it. Thanks for watching this video on Unpacked Technologies. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.